Imagine living in a world controlled by numbers attached to your body, and once the number reaches 0, you will be sent into the abyss. In this timeline, a girl named Hina lives in a post-apocalyptic town called Alicia, where the people all have numbers attached to their bodies which can represent anything about that person's life. For example, the amount of times you helped someone out, or the amount of times you got cheated on, or even how many times you were rejected by a girl. One day, young Hina witnesses her mother being absorbed by a mysterious black hole. Before disappearing, her mother entrusts Hina with the task of finding a legendary red baron and hands her a mysterious black orb. Filled with pain from the loss of her mother, Hina cries inconsolably. After 5 years of tireless searching, Hina arrives at the village of Arenas. There, during a conversation in a public restroom, she reveals her origin in Fini and her quest for someone. Suddenly, a masked man appears before Hina, instilling fear in the other girls present. This individual, identified as Lickback, aggressively and threateningly demands money from Hina. Faced with the intimidating situation, Hina escapes, but Lick persistently follows her. Finally, a woman named Nana Bassler intervenes and strikes the masked man, revealing his name and offering apologies for his behavior. It is revealed that Licht and Nana have a conflicted relationship. Nana reproaches Licht for his negligence in his duties and punishes him, while Hina watches in surprise. During the conversation, Hina mentions her quest as instructed by her late mother, leading Nana to explain the counter system in Althea, as well as the importance of the count in people's lives. Licht attempts to steal food, but Nana stops him firmly, thus showing the consequences of violating the rules imposed by the count. Still puzzled by the situation and her lack of knowledge about the count and the Red Baron, Hina decides to leave the city. However, on her way, she encounters Davi, a soldier who proclaims himself as the Red Baron she has been seeking. Hina is filled with joy to finally find him after so long. Davi, accompanied by his henchmen, invites Hina to his lookout post. Meanwhile, Licht, while drinking, tells Minna that someone is impersonating the Red Baron to commit atrocities. Aware of the situation, he decides to search for Hina and protect her from any danger. After a brief conversation, Davi starts touching Hina's body, interrogating her about her name and intentions. However, the atmosphere turns hostile when Davi and his henchmen demand that she hands over the orb her mother gave her. Under pressure, Hina reveals her count and orders Davi not to harm her. Despite this, Davi challenges her to participate in a game called the Star Theft Bout, of which Hina has no knowledge. Forced, Hina accepts the challenge, but she soon finds herself overpowered by Davi, who mocks her as he sees her count drop to just 1 and shows her disdain. Plunged into despair and tears, Hina questions why she has ended up in this situation. Davi, after his victory, apologizes and admits that he is not the real legendary Red Baron, calling her knave for believing in his existence and for getting involved in the game. Just at that moment, Lick bursts into the lookout post to rescue Hina. Determined to confront Davi instead of her, Lick challenges the Red Baron to a game of the Star Theft Bout. Davi and his henchmen mock Licht when they see his count, but they soon realize something is amiss when his count drops below 0 and is not absorbed by the abyss. Licht reveals his true identity as the legendary Red Baron, while warning Hina to stop searching for someone who is not a hero but a murderer. He also warns Davi that he must return the counts to Hina as his mask breaks, revealing his face. According to the legend of the Red Barons, after the devastating War of Abandonment, a group known as the legendary Red Barons emerged to restore the world. However, after the war's end, these barons disappeared and were never seen again. In the present, Lickback holds Hina, and the soldiers fear him due to his alleged status as a baron. Davi tries to calm them, suggesting that Licht is an imposter like himself. When 3 soldiers attack Licht, he skillfully disappears and makes them crash into the wall. Licht decides to intervene in the fight against Davi to retrieve Hina's stolen counts, taking his place in the contest known as the Star Theft Bout. Meanwhile, Nana Bassler and a customer watch the explosion from the base of the Althea Royal Guard. Nana reveals that Licht is known as Baron Flash, with a real count of 5,700. Although the customer is confused by Licht's negative count, Nana does not offer any explanations. During the battle, Davi feels overwhelmed by Licht's combatability. While Licht apologizes to Hina for the violence, she encourages him not to hurt himself and offers him food. Licht promises to accompany her and return the counts obtained by Davi. After defeating Davi, Licht takes Hina's ballot and plans to sell it for money, causing Hina to cry and beg him to stay. However, Licht insists on his plan and suggests exchanging it for her doll, making it clear that he is not the hero she seeks. When Hina enters the city, she cries to Nana because Licht has taken her mother's ballot. Nana inspects Hina's doll and upon returning it to her, smiles. At that moment, the teddy bear doll bursts into flowers and Hina's ballot appears inside. Confused, Hina asks why the ballot was placed inside the doll. and Nana explains that this was Licht's quirk. She reveals that he does this to prevent soldiers from killing Hina since possessing a ballot is a crime. After discovering Licht's true intention, Hina searches for him and finds him sitting on a cart. She confesses that she felt lonely throughout her childhood and that he was the first person to make her happy. Moved, Hina begs him to stay with her so they can live happily together. However, Licht decides to leave, causing the count of his first ballot to decrease to 1,000 while Hina cries and screams "liar" behind him. Once Licht leaves the city, one of Davi's henchmen appears behind Hina and discovers that Licht has already returned the ballot to her. This terrifies Hina, thinking that the henchman might come back for revenge. However, the henchman reveals that he has no interest in Hina's ballot. In fact, he is more interested in Licht. They thank Hina for revealing his whereabouts after so long. Soon, they inform their true commander about this and promise to capture Baron Flash. Soldier of the Royal Guard of Althea asks Nana Basler about the whereabouts of Licht back. Nana claims she hasn't seen him recently and didn't know he was the legendary Red Baron. The soldier warns her that if she finds him, she must report immediately, as he is considered a criminal. After the soldier leaves, Hina worries about Licht and Nana assures her that he's probably fine, as another soldier kept his whereabouts secret during their previous conversation. Meanwhile, in the village of Home, the Royal Guard's Sergeant Major Lime May works on creating leaflets about a playground. Her subordinate, Pella Paporo, informs her about an order from the Royal Guard to capture a criminal known as the legendary Red Baron. Line is puzzled by the name as she has never heard the legend before. Pella explains that the Red Baron was a hero 300 years ago, which surprises Line. Upon receiving a description of the criminal, Line wonders how to recognize him if he wears a mask. Soon, they encounter a masked man who matches the description, and Line tries to capture him. However, the masked man identifies himself as Pudding and denies being Licht, explaining his own problem with a negative count of 1,000. Upon hearing Pudding's story, Pella suggests they should help him, as it would be an opportunity for Line to increase her count. Line agrees, and during their date, Licht, disguised as Pudding, begins to harass Line. Although her count increases, Line refuses to go further, leading Pella to question Licht's true identity. When Line finally removes Licht's mask, she discovers that he is the real legendary Red Baron wanted by the Royal Guard. Pella mocks Line for not realizing earlier, leaving her infuriated. Soon, Licht disarms Line and comments that she can't do anything without her weapon. However, Line reveals that her true skill lies in physical combat, not swordsmanship, demonstrating it by breaking a tree with a single blow. Determined to capture him, Line begins attacking with kicks until he surrenders. As she does, Pella embarrassingly points out that her panties are visible, which distracts her. Both Licht and Pella wonder why Line is so surprised to wear a miniskirt. Licht confesses his love for Line, saying she has melted his heart. Blushing, Line accepts his proposal of love and wants to kiss him. But Pella reveals that Licht has escaped, arguing that his confession was just a tactic to distract her and flee, leaving Line irritated. Meanwhile, in Arenas, Hina works part-time at Nana's mobile tavern. She inquires about Licht, and Nana, confident in his safety, doesn't feel rushed to find him. However, a lieutenant named Jael Murdoch interrogates Nana about Licht's whereabouts. Despite Nana's attempts to hide the truth, Jael forces her to tell the truth using his metal ability to immobilize her legs, warning her that he won't tolerate lies. Nana can only report that Licht headed east, although Jael asserts that he actually went west and destroys the mobile tavern. Then Jael orders his soldiers to pursue Licht while he heads towards his carriage. As Jael Murdoch moves westward, the girls rise from the ground, and Hina asks Nana what happened and what all that was about. Nana explains that Jael must be a ballot holder capable of gaining power directly from the ballot. The ballot can confer immense strength upon the user according to its counts. The fact that ballot can grant any power is why possessing one is illegal, and why Licht Baksh tried to protect Hina by pretending to have stolen her ballot before. After the explanation, Hina understands the threats that the ballot represents and why the Royal Guards of Althea acted hostilely when she showed hers. In Home, Lime May, disappointed with Licht, begins to distribute flyers. She tells Pella she wants to be promoted to the rank of lieutenant to stop using the current uniform she has. After a discussion about uniforms, Line and Pella continue with their volunteer work, but Pella starts to slack off. The subject reappears and offers to help Line, leading to misunderstandings among the villagers, who think they are having a lover's quarrel. Despite Line's attempts to deny it, Licht escapes again when he complains about the uniform. Meanwhile, Hina decides to warn Licht about the prison, but first, they must rebuild Nana's cart. Nana suggests that Hina works with her and waits for Licht. Hina agrees and promises to do her best. Back in Home, Licht realizes that the villagers prefer peace, and Line helps them with their problems. Accidentally breaking a girl's doll, Line becomes saddened. Licht notices her efforts to assist the villagers and changes his perspective on her. Soon they are both pursued again. In the forest, Nana opens her mobile tavern and Hina begins to work there. After receiving praise from customers, Hina smiles, content with her new job. Later, Licht protects Lion from an attack by the lieutenant and gets caught. Lion becomes worried and angry at Jail's actions. However, Jail orders the soldiers to surround Licht, and he is forced to fight them to protect Lion from harm. When everyone realizes Licht is a ballot holder, Jail decides to personally take charge and tests Lion's knowledge about ballots. After Lion's explanation, Licht questions whether the lieutenant truly wants to fight him, given the difference in their counts. Jail launches his attacks from the ground, surprising Licht. Trying to escape, Licht uses his flash speed, bewildering Pell with his swiftness. However, Jail anticipates his moves and reveals his true count of 12,500, leaving Licht stunned. The fight between Licht and the lieutenant continues to intensify, with Licht discovering that Jail's count is not simply 900, but 12,500. Despite this, Licht is captured by the unyielding force of Jail's conviction. However, during the battle, Jail notices a combat technique similar to that used by the Royal Guard of Althea, leading him to question Licht about his past. Licht refuses to answer honestly, prompting the lieutenant to resort to violence to uncover the truth. Just as Jail strikes Licht with his iron chain, Limai steps in between them and gets injured. Lion, believing in Licht's goodness, interferes in the fight, leading the lieutenant to tear apart Lion's flyers and belittle her. Despite the protests of the bystanders, Lion apologizes to Jail, but Licht stops her and tells her not to apologize. The lieutenant realizes that Licht is not unable to break his iron, but simply hasn't shown his true strength yet. In a moment of anger, Licht easily breaks the chains binding him, surprising Jail with his immense power. Licht ridicules Jail for his lack of understanding about peace and the city's governance, and orders him to apologize to Lion. The confrontation between the lieutenant and Licht continues, with both displaying their incredible power. However, in a sudden twist, the part of the ground where Lion was standing breaks, and they both rush to save her. At the least opportune moment, when he catches her, Licht tells her that she is too heavy and throws her towards the colonel to hold her and allow her to escape. After taking Lion to a safe place, the lieutenant remembers how Licht defended her and immediately built a playground for children. Impressed by Licht's act of kindness, Jail decides to stay in the area for 3 days before continuing his pursuit. He asks the residents to remove the iron from the ground, as his ability doesn't work properly if iron isn't nearby. He also invites Lion to join him on the mission. During this time, Jail reflects on Licht's behavior, noting that Licht's speed was much greater than his own when he saved Lion. He also realizes that Licht never showed complete enthusiasm during the confrontation and avoided attacking an enemy like he normally would. Suddenly, an angry girl approaches the colonel and demands that he fixes her broken doll, as it was he who broke it. In the meadow, Licht found himself in a desperate situation upon realizing he had no money to feed himself, leading him to panic. However, Hina found him and tried to take him back to Nana Basler's mobile tavern. Although Licht attempted to pass himself off as someone else, Hina immediately recognized him and confronted him. Soon, Nana found them both and brought them back to the tavern. Once at the tavern, Nana and Hina learned of the troubles Licht had faced since leaving them. While Nana lamented the troubles his departure had caused, Hina expressed jealousy at the possibility of Licht meeting another girl in a village and scolded him for leaving her behind. Later, while Licht and Hina were alone, they witnessed a girl riding a large bird in an experimental area. When the girl almost fell, Licht saved her with his flash speed. The girl named Pelmo thanked them and revealed her passion for aviation. Despite the risks involved, Pelmo was determined to pursue her dream and asked for Licht and Hina's help. Feeling sympathy for her determination, Licht decided to assist her by drawing missing parts for her steel bird design. After Pelmo saw Licht's drawings, she realized they were the key to the success of her experiment. After the royal guards of Althea suddenly appeared in the meadow while Pelmo was experimenting with her steel bird, both she and Licht felt distress, not knowing how to conceal the project. Faced with the imminent threat, Licht was forced to destroy the steel bird to eliminate the evidence, although he apologized to Pelmo for it. Upon arrival, the royal guards were deceived by Pelmo's story about replacing a fan, and they withdrew without suspecting anything. After the departure of the guards, Licht apologized again to Pelmo and tried to console her, assuring her that the situation was understandable. Hina offered her support to help Pelmo rebuild her project, but Pelmo revealed that her count had been reduced to 0, meaning she would be taken to the abyss by the Black Hands. Licht attempted to confront the Black Hands, but he was paralyzed by them, leading him to recall his past. Before being taken away, Pelmo expressed her gratitude for having met Licht and Hina and assured them she would resolve her problems. Although they couldn't prove the steel bird, Pelmo trusted that Licht's idea for her research would work and that they would meet again someday. As Pelmo departed, both Licht and Hina bid her farewell with sadness. After Pelmo's departure, Hina noticed that Licht was unwell since he attempted to confront the Black Hands. Upon examining him, she discovered a code 001 in his left eye, leaving her wondering what had happened to him. In a camp, Licht Batch wakes up next to Hina and remembers the events after Pelmo was sent to the Abyss. He tries to hide what happened so as not to worry Hina, but she asks him to stay. Although he considers leaving, he decides to stay after Hina's request. As he prepares to leave, Hina asks him if he will leave her alone again, to which Licht responds that he won't and assures her that she shouldn't worry about it. Meanwhile, in the city, Lime May and Pell, part of Jail Murdoch's team, search for Licht. They find him with the girl and try to arrest him. Before that, the girl thanks Licht for previously saving her. Hina prevents Line from taking him away, which confuses Line about their relationship. The girls discuss their relationship with Licht and their fondness for him. Nana Bassler joins them and suggests a battle. Nana organizes a cooking competition among the girls with Licht as the prize. While Line buys vegetables, Hina hunts wild beasts, showcasing her skills. Both return with their ingredients. While Line cooks, Hina prepares the meat, impressing with her violent method. In the end, Line makes a vegetable stew and Hina prepares a meat dish. Licht enjoys both but feels pressured when the crowd demands a winner. The girls argue, but Licht cannot decide. While waiting for a decision, Jail interrupts the competition and mocks Line for not taking her job seriously. He claims he will capture Licht on his own, as their issues have not been resolved. Licht accepts Jail's proposal, and they agree to a second round of fighting. Before they begin, Licht thanks the girls for their delicious meals. During the fight, Jail urges Licht to show all his strength, but Licht refuses to fight seriously, preferring to lose than to unleash his full power. When Jail stops upon realizing Licht is allowing himself to lose, Nana scolds them for their childish behavior and orders them to stop, which they both obey. Later, the group celebrates with a party that lasts all night. The next morning, Jail, Pell, and Line wake up to find that Licht and the others have left the city. As they pursue them, they encounter a wounded soldier from another town who informs them about an incident in Linden. Simultaneously, Licht also notices that something is amiss in Linden. Upon arrival, they discover that the city has been destroyed. Jail Murdoch and the group investigate the situation in Linden, discovering strange marks around the city and on the trees. Pell encounters a survivor and interrogates them about what happened. The survivor recounts that an abyss demon emerged from a black hole in the center of the city, causing destruction as soldiers unsuccessfully fought against it. Initially, Jail dismisses the account as ridiculous, but the survivor insists on its truthfulness, claiming that the demon was flying. This assertion bewilders Jail, as in his world there are no flying creatures apart from birds. Convinced that the survivor is not lying, Jail seeks answers from Licht, who he believes reacts unusually to the subject. In Anasis, Licht and Hina return to Nana's mobile tavern, where they find the officers with the injured man. Jail explains that he seeks answers about the Abyss demon. He suspects Licht isn't involved in the destruction of Linden, but believes he might have information. Under Jail's pressure, Nana intervenes and proposes a drinking competition to settle their differences. If one of them gets drunk, they'll agree to the other's terms. With no other choice, Licht and Jail agree to participate in the drinking competition. Jail continues to interrogate Licht about his identity and origin, but Licht avoids his questions, much to Jail's irritation. Both continue drinking together in the hope that one of them will collapse. Meanwhile, Hina and Line watch the competition together. Line tries to drink alcohol but can't handle it, while Hina unsuccessfully tries alcohol for the first time. Nana drinks the entire bottle to demonstrate how adults handle liquor, surprising the girls. Excited by her drinking feat, Nana interrupts the competition and forces the men to drink more. Hina has fun while Line, intoxicated, challenges Hina senselessly. Suddenly, an earthquake occurs and they discover a black hole similar to the one in Linden in the city. The survivor warns about the Abyss demon. Jail orders the soldiers to protect the citizens. Licht recognizes the sound and warns the lieutenant to call everyone to take cover. Furious, Jail interrogates Licht about the true identity of the Abyss demon. Licht wonders how that thing can fly after the War of Abandonment. Suddenly, a helicopter appears in front of Licht and Jail, revealing itself as the Abyss demon. After the appearance of the Abyss demon, it attacks with a massive missile that Jail manages to block with an iron wall. However, the missile proves powerful enough to destroy part of the wall. Licht stops another missile aimed at the Jail and the Royal Guard of Althea, leading Jail to question Licht's actions and his knowledge about the Abyss demon. He is forced to attain the military rank of colonel to assume command. While Licht battles the Abyss demon, the hands of Althing restrain him, hindering his fight. During the confrontation, Hina watches in surprise as the hands reappear and mentions a moment when Licht's right eye displays a numerical code. Despite Hina's attempts to seek help from the royal guards, Jill explains that they cannot intervene due to the rules imposed by Althing. Moved by Hina's words, Jill decides to defy the rules of Althing and attacks the hands with his iron pillars, while the royal guard joins his cause. This allows Licht to advance towards the helicopter, although he stops his attack upon seeing something unexpected inside the Abyss demon. Intrigued by what Licht has seen, Jill prepares to investigate for himself. Before Jill could investigate, the Abyss demon is brought down by a mysterious attack. A girl flying in the sky turns out to be Mizuka, one of the 7 legendary Red Barons known as the Baron of Pursuit. She attacks Jill, injuring him, and then turns to Licht, whom she recognizes as her commander and threatens to kill everyone. Mizuka reveals that after 300 years she can kill without restrictions and tries to convince Licht to follow her orders. She attempts to kill the citizens to demonstrate her power, but Licht intervenes. Mizuka uses her abilities to control bullets and defeats Licht. Later, Mizuka and a mysterious group capture Licht, Hina, and the others. Mizuka urges Licht to kill her, but he refuses. She brings a child as an example of how Licht will die. The frightened child only wants his mother. When it seems like the child is in danger, Licht reveals his killer instinct and saves the group. He proclaims that he will kill Mizuka. Nana tries to stop him, but Licht reveals his true identity as a plunderer and his goal to steal everything from Althea for his own purposes. When seeing Licht wearing his mask, Mizuka expresses joy because she interprets that she will finally be killed by him. Licht challenges her to a game called Star Theft Bout, and they wager their own stars, which she accepts. During the game, Hina worries about Licht as his counts are lower than Mizuka's. Pella notices something strange about Licht and the Barons in general, especially how Licht almost defeated Geo Murdoch and Home despite his lower counts. Peel asks Nana if she knows the truth about the Barons, but she remains silent. Licht struggles to catch up to Mizuka, but her directed bullets make it difficult. They wound him and bring him down. As he falls, he sees blood on his left hand. Upon getting up, Licht begins to scream, which seems to increase his count. Nana explains that the Barons can increase their counts at will, making them legendary. When Licht's count reaches 57,000, Mizuka is thrilled that he's finally willing to kill her. She attempts to attack him, but Licht disappears and effortlessly cuts through her bullets. Surprised, Mizuka tries to shoot him, but Licht outpaces her in speed and defeats her. Nana warns everyone to stay away from Licht as he's in his violent form. She explains that the Barons can shift into their violent form called Schmelman. Then he defeats Mizuka in his Schmelman form. After the battle, Mizuka realizes the damage she has caused and begins to cry. Licht is about to kill her, but Hina stops him and begs him to return to normal. Mizuka shoots Licht and tells him that she is his opponent. Licht accepts and promises to fulfill her wish to die as he promised before. As he advances towards her, Mizuka reflects on the war crimes the Barons have committed in the past 300 years, feeling they deserve punishment. Before she can express her wish, Licht attempts to kill her, but Jael stops him, revealing he's still alive. Licht confronts Jael, but the latter is injured from Mizuka's previous attacks. Despite this, Jael blocks Licht's blows and makes him realize he lacks conviction. Licht, in his Schmelman form, justifies his actions due to the war. The lieutenant reveals his full strength with a second glove, creating an iron golem. Although Licht blocks some attacks, he is overcome and defeated by Jael's conviction. After the battle, Jael wonders if Licht has regained his sanity. Licht confirms he has while crying and offers his apology. After this, Mizuka thanks the lieutenant for protecting her before fainting. Meanwhile, in a church, a man reads a story about a turtle and a hare to the children. In the tale, the turtle seeks the help of a wizard to defeat the hare in a race, drinking its blood and winning, but dying in the process. A soldier arrives at the church and apologizes for not capturing Licht and for Mizuka's recovery, revealing that the man is a wizard. The man, Schmelman, orders the soldier to bring the turtle, hinting that there are more plans in motion. After the incident with the Abyss demon, Licht and his friends hide in the forest while he recovers from his injuries. The hands of Althing continue to appear, harassing the girls as the battle between Licht and Mizuka has not yet concluded. Meanwhile, Jael is summoned by Alexandrov, the supreme commander of the Royal Guard of Althea. In the commander's office, the lieutenant arrives and shows reluctance towards any kind of physical contact, even from his supposed father. He informs Alexandrov about his encounter with the strange group in black uniforms and asks if they are related to the Royal Guard. Alexandrov denies it and explains that they are part of this special service, a different faction dealing with assassination and espionage, independent of the Royal Guard. Alexandrov warns Jael about the constant surveillance of the special service and advises him to be careful. Jael wants to ask Alexandrov about Licht and his true identity, but Alexander reveals that he is already aware of his intentions. He explains that the Red Barons, including Licht, were created as weapons during the War of Abandonment, and they stopped aging at a certain point due to their nature as mass weapons. When Alexandrov notices Jael's count has decreased, he asks if Jael is hiding Licht from the army. Jael denies this, but Alexandrov warns him of the consequences if he doesn't cooperate and capture Licht, as the special service is lurking and might kill him if he doesn't fulfill his duty. Jael is forced to take action to capture the aforementioned. In the forest, the tranquility is interrupted when Jael returns with the intention of arresting Licht. Realizing that the royal guard is forcing him to capture Licht, he decides to surrender for Jael's sake. The girls try to stop him, but the lieutenant pushes them aside and restrains them with his medal. As the lieutenant is about to handcuff Licht, Nana suddenly appears and slaps him, admonishing him for following orders instead of following his own desires. Nana's words cause Jael to pause and reconsider, deciding to help Licht instead of arresting him. Nana reveals that she too is a baroness and possesses the ability to time travel. She begs them to change the past where she failed. After being sent to the past by Nana, the lieutenant and the others find themselves confused, wondering where they are and what the huge building in front of them is. Soon, they see younger versions of Mizuka and Licht entering the building, further increasing their confusion. Jael Murdoch and his group enter the imposing building, left perplexed to find themselves in a completely different environment, with technology far more advanced than the current one. Doubt arises in Jael whether the young man with black hair they saw earlier was really Licht, given the contrast with his current version. Meanwhile, Pella wonders how it's possible for the past to have more advanced technology than the present, leading Jael to consider that something significant must have happened 300 years ago. Additionally, he suspects that Nana's purpose in sending them to the past might be more complex than simply altering Licht's timeline. Exploring further, they discover that the building is actually a training school. During their tour, Hina is pushed by a tall and hostile boy. Line tries to intervene, but is slapped by the boy, identified as Takatora. The lieutenant and Pella step in to protect the girls, but Jael realizes he has lost his ballot, leaving him without access to his metal abilities and vulnerable to Taktora's attacks. Mizuka intervenes to stop Taktora, who is accompanied by Tokikaze, a man with a wooden sword. Despite Tokikaze's attempts to calm the situation, Takatora defies his authority, creating tension between the lieutenant and Tokikaze. Meanwhile, Hina feels uncomfortable noticing Licht's inappropriate gaze towards her, leading her to confront him and question his behavior. The enrollment ceremony begins with Alan informing the rookies about their new role as soldiers and the importance of following orders. Ferenda intervenes to correct Alan's tone and continues with the presentation. During the explanation about the nuclear war, Alan interrupts and Schmollman, the director, makes his entrance, reading a children's story that confuses the audience. The situation escalates when Alan cold-bloodedly kills 3 recruits who were mocking Schmollman, leaving the rookies in panic. He then points his gun at Hina, blaming her for crying on the battlefield, while Jael and the others try to intervene to save her. Finally, Licht suggests a strategy to avoid further violence, revealing his true nature to the group. Schmollman reveals that it was all a simulation to teach the rookies not to fear on the battlefield. Frenda, the instructor, steps in to stop the charade and restore calm among the rookies. After the tense incident, the instructors announced lunchtime, although Schmollman wanted to finish reading his storybook. Everyone ignored him and headed to the cafeteria. During lunch, Jael and Tokikaze got into a fight after sitting together, leading Licht to notice how quickly they had become friends. Jael reflected on the nature of the incident during the ceremony and the true murderous intent he perceived in Schmollman, contrasting with Alan's impulsive act. In a conversation between Schmollman and Alan, the latter questioned Licht's suitability to lead the army. Although Alan expressed doubts, he noted his desire to test Licht's skills before making a definitive decision. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Licht is shown teasing the girls and escaping from them. Line observed that Licht hadn't changed much in the last 300 years, prompting the lieutenant to question this individual's true identity. Noticing he had a different name, Sakai Rihiko, and was physically different from the current Licht, Jael wondered if the existence of the school was related to Licht's transformation into a baron later on. Pell informed Jael and the group about what she found in the computer room, a website called Wikipedia containing information and videos about the Althing. Watching a video showing something falling from the sky, they were perplexed. Although Pella tried to search for more information about the Althing, they found that the internet was blocked, suggesting the topic was highly confidential. Later, Alan entered and explained that the Althing was a divine entity that fell from the sky in Japan, capable of establishing new rules for the world, used by the United Nations to prevent the nuclear war. Despite this, Alan pointed out that the world was still not safe, bewildering Hina. After the explanation, Alan urged them to return to their classrooms, at which point Jael and the others began to question the origin of the All-Thing. Pell speculated that if the All-Thing was truly not created by Althea, but by an entity that fell from the sky, as Alan claimed, then the practice of sending people to the abyss when their count reaches 0 could have been established by humanity using the All-Thing. This led the group to suspect that the school might have some connection to the creation of Althea, and that they might find answers later on. Hina breathes a sigh of relief upon noticing that everyone is in the same class except Jael and Tokikai's, who are seated together. The conversation revolves around which instructors they would prefer to have. Line praises Ferenda for her pleasant personality, while Jael and Topikai's prefer Alan. Meanwhile, Pele notices Hina's concern about staying in school and being trained as a soldier, something that disturbs her. On the other hand, Line finds relief in being able to wear a long skirt at school to avoid ridicule about her miniskirt. However, when Alan enters the classroom, he asks Line to shorten her skirt to avoid appearing arrogant, causing tensions. Alan reveals that he was originally supposed to teach the class, but Schmelman replaces him due to a request. Alan asks Schmelman to behave, which causes concern among the students about the possibility that Schmelman may be dangerous. Upon leaving the classroom, Alan recalls his attempt to spy on Jael's group, questioning why they lack knowledge about computers and modern technology, and the mention of the name Althea raises doubts about Jael and his companions' true identities. Back in the classroom, Schmelman explains the school rules. Each student will receive 2 stars, and to remain in the school, they must have at least 1. Otherwise, they will be expelled. Students can graduate and join the army by obtaining 10 stars. Stars will be reviewed daily at 6:00 p.m. Hina asks how to earn more stars, and Schmelman explains that they can be earned through good scores on exams and activities, or through agreed-upon combat between students. The students notice similarities between these rules and those of the star theft bout, believing it could be a prototype version of the same. At night, Hina is upset by Schmelman's actions and wonders if it's revenge for a previous incident. Mizuka worries about Licht, as if he's expelled, she'll be left alone. Upon learning of their friendship, Hina and Line promise to help and protect Mizuka. In a conversation with Alan, Schmelman explains that he didn't give stars to Licht to see how he would handle the situation. It's a new day, Licht still hasn't received any stars. The students discover that someone has stolen the stars from the storage. Initially, they suspect Licht, but soon find out that Duan Takatora is bullying Mizuka. Tokike's hands over to stars to protect his grandmother from the Duan family dojo, triggering a confrontation between Takatora and Jael. After Takatora leaves, Line expresses her anger and wishes to challenge him in the star theft bout, but Pele stops her, arguing that Takatora wouldn't accept the challenge since he has accumulated 10 stars through theft. Jael decides to give one of his stars to Mizuka, which leads Line to realize that giving stars to others is another way to help. When Hina is about to give her star to Tokikaz, Suda begs her for a star, leading Tokikaz to give it to him. Although Pele questions his decision. Upon Pel's words, Tokikaz begins to worry about how to earn more stars to avoid expulsion. After school, Licht encourages Tokikaz to return home, but the latter insists on staying to become a soldier and ensure the well-being of his grandmother, who is weakening by sharing her food with them. Licht and Jael decide to help Tokikaz after seeing his determination. Later on, Takatora prepares to graduate. Licht tries to retrieve Tokikaz's stars, but Takatora hits him. Hina worries about the boy and questions the need for violence, although Licht smiles, which confuses her. As Takatora graduates, Tokikaz and the others watch. Jael then confronts Takatora and warns him about his behavior. Takatora becomes enraged but stops upon realizing that Jael has already given his last star to Tokikaz. Tokikaz is surprised by Jael's help, and the latter explains his decision. Schmelman intervenes and discovers that Licht had stolen Takatora's stars, allowing Takatora to stay in school. Licht hands the stars to Tokikaz and other students. After receiving additional stars, Jael and Licht promise to stay in school to ensure the well-being of their loved ones. After the incident in the bathroom, our protagonist and his companions are punished with a survival test in the mountains. Despite the real need for water and food, he cannot resist the temptation to spy on the girls as they go to fetch water. Although this annoys some, others decide to let it slide and discuss more serious matters, such as their future as soldiers. Tokikaz and others see the army as the only way to support their families. Despite moral concerns, one girl acknowledges that in their world, becoming a soldier is a matter of survival for their loved ones. Meanwhile, Jael finds himself investigating and follows Director Schmerman to a secret underground complex where they encounter Alan, Ferenda, and others. He discovers that they are attempting to replicate Alting's powers to use them in an upcoming war. Schmerman exhibits powers of his own, which surprises Jael and makes him question the nature of these powers. Before they can be discovered, Jael is rescued by a mysterious girl named Nana, who claims to have seen him in the future. She urges him to escape to save himself, revealing that he will have a chance to return safely in 7 minutes. Jael is surprised to discover that Nana is the same girl who had sent them there, and even more so to learn that she received a letter from him from the future warning her about their arrival. Nana reveals that she is the first ace and has the power to travel through time. She explains that after alting, people with similar powers appeared at a genetic level. Jael concludes that Schmollman is one of these people, and Nana confirms it, describing him as a powerful wizard. Nana reveals that she herself was created through painful genetic experimentation, combining Schmollman's DNA with that of a human. Jael realizes that Schmollman plans to use Lich to create more aces. Nana suggests stopping this, but she is not sure of the consequences. She hands Jael a memory from the future before bidding him farewell, refusing to join them out of fear of changing the past. Jael is intersected by Alan, who reveals himself to be his adoptive father, Alexandro Grigorovich. Although they initially engage in a struggle, Jael trusts Alan and reveals his identity as a lieutenant in the Royal Army of Alicia. Alan, aware of Nana's power, decides to let him go, hinting that he will aid them in their mission. The next day, the boys accompany Alan to a common residential neighborhood, where he warns them about potential attacks. Armed civilians confront them, demanding food. Alan explains the hunger crisis facing society. Although concerned about the consequences, the boys understand the urgency of the situation and confront a dilemma, whether to proceed with their mission to change the future or to give up and change the present. Pelle presents a new perspective, reminding them that the foundation of Alicia is linked to the victory in the war in which the protagonist would play a crucial role. Jael asks them if they are willing to sacrifice all the people of Alicia for him, leading the boys to reconsider their priorities. Training begins with Jael determined to become strong enough to defeat his father. The boys practice using various weapons, including the less modern ones. In a way, the situation seems hopeful, but in a conversation between Director Schmollman and Ferenda in their laboratory, we see just the opposite, as they are at a complete disadvantage, especially in a fight for the few remaining resources. It seems like a simple but extreme strategy to reduce the population as much as possible. This desperates them both, who have no intentions of being part of this madness. Therefore, Ferenda recommends to Schmollman that they should start human trials, since they will need all the power they can get. However, the commander becomes upset, warning her that it is still very dangerous and that he does not want the same thing to happen again as last time. He does not want to lose his students ever again. Despite this, Director Schmollman's interest in our protagonist does not diminish, as throughout the training, he has realized that he has the perfect material to become the leader of his own army. This is a small ray of hope that things could potentially work out. However, the situation becomes dire when Schmollman and the rest of the instructors receive information that David had died, and that in his last transmission he claimed to have been deceived, creating the possibility that their plan had been leaked. This puts them in a more critical situation, so Ferenda proposes again that it is time to move forward with human trials, as otherwise, the other countries would attempt to replicate it, and they would lose all the advantage they have gained in recent years. Director Schmollman agrees, but with the sole condition of carrying it out with the candidate with the highest chances of success, who happens to be our protagonist. Schmollman decides to talk to him, being honest about the situation, explaining that he is the best candidate to undergo the surgery. Surprisingly, and despite not having been very interested in fighting at first, our protagonist accepts with the hope of being the pillar that can allow him and his friends to become the army that does not kill. After the conversation with Director Schmollman, Ferenda gathers the group to inform them about the surgery that would put Rigido's life at risk, as they knew him in the past as Licht. Despite initial opposition, she argues it's the best option to ensure survival in the war. The boy supports this decision, emphasizing the importance of increasing survival chances for everyone. However, Jael and the others, aware of the time travel, gather to decide whether they should also undergo surgery or support the protagonist. Jael, based on his conversation with Nana, chooses to let events unfold, believing the consequences of intervening are unknown. They decide to stand by the boy to support him. On the day of the surgery, they bid him farewell before he enters the operating room. Meanwhile, our girl proposes to Pelle and Ain a new strategy to change the future, suggesting that the real mission is to stay alongside the protagonist to prevent him from becoming a ruthless killer. Jael supports this idea, arguing that battles with Licht have shown that the protagonist is powerful, but also wounded. They believe that with the support of his classmates, he can maintain his cheerful personality and avoid resorting to masks to hide his face. Outside the school, the boys notice the approach of helicopters, sparking panic. Alan assures them that the joint force does not pose an immediate threat, but he recalls David's report about a deception. The helicopters launch missiles, triggering a joint attack. The students attempt to flee, but several are killed by enemy soldiers. Ferenda confirms to Alan that other countries have formed an alliance to change the norms of alting and accelerate the war. Additionally, the attack causes a power outage in the operating room, endangering the boy's life. They decide to make their way to the emergency generator. Hina stays behind to help a wounded classmate while the others advance. The school turns into a battlefield. Meanwhile, some students, including the girls, are captured by the enemies, and they refuse to reveal Rihito's location. So if they don't cooperate, they will be sentenced to death on the spot. Jail and the others inform Alan about the activation of the emergency generator, which stabilizes Rihito. A few minutes later, he wakes up alongside the elder who was on the adjacent stretcher. He then receives a ballot sword from Director Schmolman, which will amplify his power once activated through an oath. Our protagonist chooses his oath condition revealed just before Hina and the others are surrounded by enemy soldiers. He appears suddenly and displays surprising speed and skill as he faces the soldiers, effortlessly dodging bullets and then attacking the enemy helicopters and neutralizing his opponents without killing them. This encourages everyone to decide to work as a team. However, one of the enemy soldiers reveals that they have explosives in their bodies and threatens to detonate them. Although Rihito manages to destroy the detonator, the soldier warns about a nuclear bomb prepared to detonate at the academy. The kids discover that wars may not be prohibited as they were told. The soldier warns that the bomb switch is on one of his men and gives them the option to kill him to prevent the detonation. Rihito refuses, but the enemy argues that in a world without resources, death would be more compassionate than the future of hunger and despair for the losers and their families. He suggests that the winners will decide who lives and who dies. The countdown reaches its end, and before the kids can stop him, Rihito eliminates them all in the blink of an eye. The soldier reveals that the bomb threat was a lie but justifies Rihito's actions, telling him that killing his enemies is the only guarantee of survival in war. Rihito collapses upon realizing what he has done, while Hina follows him and understands the gravity of the situation, leading the protagonist to reconsider his stance on war. Our protagonist makes his oath establishing his count number as the number of people he will eliminate to protect his friends. But the most shocking revelation comes when they are bathed in light, realizing that they did not manage to change the past and it's time to return. Hina tries to dissuade the protagonist, but he is determined to sacrifice whatever is necessary for the safety and happiness of his loved ones. The kids understand that perhaps they never could change anything, seeing in him not remorse, but a determination to do what he believes is right. Our boy confirms that no matter what happens, he remains the kindest person he knows and loves him. He promises to wait for him for the next 300 years, regardless of the decisions he makes and the people he eliminates along the way. With the hope of seeing Hina again, our protagonist proclaims that his duty will be to hurry to stop the war, which has just begun with the aim of reducing the world population to match the food production. This future war will be known as the Forsaken War, in which more than half of the population will perish. Meanwhile, Director Schmolman blames himself for Rihito's actions, but Ferenda reminds him that he allowed them to live and gave them the opportunity to fight in a war they were destined to lose. The next day, Rihito is sent on his first mission to the front lines. Although it initially seems promising, the boys realize that he is no longer the same and eliminates 337 people in a single day. Despite this, his personality remains, and he later meets Nana, becoming great friends. She narrates how he becomes an important figure in her life, but also observes the changes in his behavior, attributing them to surgery, exposure to Schmolman's genes, and the war. Rihito loses the ability to come to terms with himself after reaching the mark of 10,000 people killed, and the classmates witness how they are losing their friend. Lick starts wearing a mask, and despite his efforts to distance himself from his friends, the boys turn to Director Schmolman to tell them they can't let him fight alone. In his prior planning, he asks the boys if they want to undergo the same operation as him to help the protagonist, and they agree. After various tests, they find 4 compatible subjects: Tokase, Doan, Sonohara, and Alan, Captain Alexandrov Grigorovich. Their goal is to assist the boy in battle. However, when Tokase approaches Rihito to offer his help, Rihito orders him never to kill anyone and only allows Doan to fight alongside him. Alan proposes obtaining the original ballots to win the war and create Alicia, a perfect world. Schmolman agrees and orders to move forward, marking a new stage in the war where Rihito loses control of his actions. One day, Licht attacks everyone, losing his sanity, and cuts off Sonohara's arm. The boys begin to distance themselves from their friend, seeing how the war is causing him to lose control until he becomes a monster. Nana's recording reveals that sometime later the war finally ended. She is in love with her friend and hopes he wakes up to confess her love to him. Meanwhile, Schmolman manages to obtain the 7 original ballots, and by unanimous vote, they decide to abandon the world to create Alicia, a utopia on a floating continent above the Earth. Additionally, they decide to plunder the few remaining resources on the surface to prevent future attacks. The people in Alicia are created from scratch with embryos, without knowledge of the past or the true nature of Althing, to exercise absolute government. It is revealed that the similarities between Alicia and the old world are not a coincidence, and were strategically created to control everything, establishing a utopia based on lies. The Abyss, feared by all, turns out to be the world left to its own devices over 300 years ago. Tomkikes opposes the idea and decides to steal one of the original ballots to stop the abuse of power, and Schmolman sends Hina after him, leading to a confrontation in which he is gravely injured by Licht in his uncontrollable state. Fortunately, Tomkikes survives, but Licht falls unconscious, entering a deep sleep for 20 years. Upon waking up, he discovers that all his friends sacrificed themselves at the school under Alicia to save the orphans, as the infertile land did not produce enough food and much of it was allocated to Alicia. This tragic event leads Nana and Licht to leave the army. 150 years pass, during which Licht, unable to speak or remove the mask, gradually improves. Man remains by his side, hoping that he will eventually propose to her. After 300 years of regret, he decides to confront the corrupt government of Alicia. Nana proposed taking the group back to the past to try to save him, but the mission failed. However, this allows everyone to reunite in the present and understand what really happened. Returning to reality, Hina realizes that he has been waiting for her, and she approaches, undresses, and indicates that they are ready to resume what they started 300 years ago. In the afternoon, Nana invites them to drink and prepares a grand feast for everyone. Jael doesn't seem very convinced, claiming he has other things to do, but she interrupts him by reminding him of the words he said when he went to the past. He had told her that upon returning to the present, he would play with her as much as she desires. Then they begin the celebration where everyone, except Hina, seem to be having a good time. And it's revealed to us what happened in their conversation with Licht, where upon seeing his naked body, she reacted by vomiting exaggeratedly, claiming that he, an old man of over 300 years, couldn't possibly have anything with an 18-year-old woman, not even considering he's a lecher. It's still clear that she's lying. He insists, telling her that he only considers her a child, and it's best for her to wait to meet someone who truly loves her. Of course, this is a low blow for her, who decides to get back at him by getting drunk for the remainder of the night. However, amidst the gathering, Jael and Licht have a strong argument, as Jael replays the memory that Nana from the past had given him. This memory contains documented videos over all these years narrating her love for Licht and everything she had to go through, suffering practically in silence. Our protagonist becomes serious and is unable to respond positively to her romantic feelings, but he apologizes for the attitude he took after the war, explaining that the reason he didn't take off his mask was because he didn't want to remember everything he experienced in the war, mainly because he knew he was unable to smile and didn't want his pain to worry her. He makes it clear that the only reason he could survive all these 300 years is because of her, who was always by his side and was the only thing that could keep him going. In accordance with this, it's clear that despite not reciprocating her romantic feelings, Nana is one of the most important people in his life, his anchor, the pillar that keeps him together, and the main reason he wants to keep fighting to make things better. Things continue to progress as usual, and the next day everyone wakes up in good spirits, so they continue drinking and eating. Licht, on the other hand, heads to the forest where he once again encounters Hina, who doesn't miss the chance to reproach him for always trying to distance himself from her side. She asks him if his hatred towards him is greater than any friendship that may have arisen in the past. But Licht simply changes the subject, asking her about something that had been troubling him. He asks her about the name of her mother, Tsukina, and surprisingly, Hina responds affirmatively, asking how he knows her mother's name, knowing they never met. Licht revealed his knowledge about Hina's lineage, mentioning that her mother was Tsukina Pharaoh, a person from 3 centuries ago, just like him. He explained how he knew that Hina was his daughter from their first encounter, recognizing her name written in kanji, an ancient writing system in Althea. Additionally, he revealed that her father was Sakai Tokikes, whom he had killed, tormenting him for over 300 years. After this shocking revelation, Hina and her companions were incapacitated by the effect of Licht's drugged wine as he prepared to confront the special service. However, he was stopped by Jael Murdoch, who resisted the effects of the drug. Meanwhile, the special service carried out assassinations of the commanders of the Royal Guard of Althea, pressuring Alexandrov Grigorovich to hand over the 3 ballots he possessed. During a discussion with his secretary Aaron, Alexandrov mentioned the suspicious deaths of Royal Guard members, which the special service always covered up as accidents. Aaron suggested hiring more guards to protect him, but Alexandrov refused, considering that true protection should be for the royal capital and the king. Subsequently, Alexandrov summoned the 3 great generals to debate whether the Royal Guard should surrender their ballots to the special service. Lightning and Xiaolu supported the surrender due to the decreasing support from Althing and the imminent threat of Althea's downfall. However, Robert opposed, blaming the special service for the loss of one ballot and arguing that they should trust the royal guard instead. Xylo warned that handing over the ballots would trigger a war. Fredcam and Xylo were accused of cowardice by Robert, leading to tensions. With no consensus reached, Alexandrov decided to leave the decision in the hands of the king. In the abandoned capital of Hoffel, Hina and her companions arrived in search of Licht, only to find his tragic demise. As they mourned their loss, they were startled by the special service spy who attempted to capture them. Meanwhile, in the royal capital of Althea, Jael sought to reunite with Alexandrov. Upon arrival, Jael, impatient, burst into the room, causing a minor incident by accidentally striking the commander. Jael raised questions about morality and responsibility, triggering a serious discussion. Following the incident, Alexandrov offered legal assistance to Jael and warned him of an impending war, urging him to prepare. The conversation took an unexpected turn when Alexandrov embraced Jael, expressing pride in all his son had achieved. However, the joy faded as Jael challenged his father to a fight, questioning his past and betrayal of the Class A 300 years ago. The confrontation led to an intense battle called the Star Theft Bout, where Jael demonstrated his maturity by pinpointing Alexandrov's weakness. Although Alexandrov emerged victorious, Jael defiantly confronted him with questions about his past actions and his failure to save his biological children. The revelation of Alexandrov's painful past caused Jael to empathize, though he later chose to continue the fight. Alexandrov then dismissed him, ordering him not to return. Upon leaving the capital, Jael received his military uniform for the last time but noticed it was shorter than expected. Aaron remarked that children always exceed their parents' expectations, which moved Jael to tears. Meanwhile, Alexandrov reflected on Jael's growth and looked at a family photo with his biological and adopted children, feeling proud of how Jael had matured as a person. In the abandoned capital, Hina and the others woke up to discover they were handcuffed. Tekatora was surprised to see them in his memory, as they had not yet been born 300 years ago. He soon realized that Nana's time travels had altered his memory. Line asked him if he had killed Licht, as he had broken his promise. He explained that his priority was to find Mizuka and tried to force Hina and the others to reveal her whereabouts by exerting gravity on them. Then, a special service spy informed Takatora that that person was approaching, which irritated him. Schmerman arrived, surprising Hina and the others. Upon noticing their reaction, he realized that Nana had altered his memory. Hina questioned Schmerman's betrayal of Licht and Class A, but his henchmen threatened her. He explained that he considered Class A failure and subjected them to a barren surgery as part of the Aerial Ace project. He ordered his subordinate to give them drugs and then left. As the soldier attempted to administer the drug to Line, Takatora ordered him to first conduct some physical checks. However, the soldier disobeyed, arguing that they should follow Schmerman's orders. This enraged Takatora, who killed him. He expressed disbelief that someone who had never experienced the abandonment war could become a baron, stating that only real soldiers who had gone through that war deserved such a title. After eliminating several special service spies, Takatora freed Line and the others, urging them to leave as he had no intention of killing them. As they walked away, Takatora saw a ballot fall from Hina's bag. Upon picking it up, he thought they were collecting the original ballots to overthrow Althea and therefore considered them enemies. Line tried to escape from Takatora's gravity but couldn't move. While struggling to break free, both Hina and Pell attempted to hold back the enemy to give Line a chance to escape. Thanks to their effort, she managed to flee on horseback from the abandoned capital. The enemy, using their gravity, hurled floating rocks towards Line, swearing to kill anyone attempting to flee. Though she was injured by one of the projectiles, she managed to slip from Takatora's grasp. Meanwhile, Hina informed Takatora that Licht was still alive, pointing out that his corpse was too clean to have been killed by him. Frustrated, Takatora decided to keep them alive until the next morning for Hina to realize her mistake in claiming Licht was dead. Finally, Line reached the spot where Licht's corpse lay. Upon noticing how clean it was, she remembered what Nana had said about Licht's sudden cardiac arrest. Realizing he might still be alive, she attempted to rouse him but collapsed due to her injuries. However, the villagers of home appeared and aided her, urging her to reveal her true feelings to Licht before it was too late. Despite being unconscious, Licht finally woke up and caught her before she fell, leading to an emotional reunion between them. The next morning, upon not seeing Licht's arrival, Takatora decides to stop playing games with Hina and the others and prepares to kill them. However, Hina explains that she didn't kill them after Lion's escape because she also hoped to see Licht again. Takatora dismisses her words and moves to kill Hina first. But just then, Licht arrives at the abandoned capital. This enrages Takatora, but Licht asks him to wait a moment, reminding him that this was part of their agreement. Takatora agrees to wait until Licht finishes his business. Licht asks Pella to take Lion to the medical room to treat her wounds while he talks to Hina. He reveals to her that he has been in love with her from the start but denied his feelings due to the guilt he felt for killing Hina's adoptive father. He tried to push her away, but his attempts failed, and they ended up growing closer. Hina calls him an idiot and kisses him, then reveals that her mother wanted her to find the legendary Red Baron, but she wants it to be him. She asks him to promise to be honest with his emotions and not to leave her alone again. After Licht promises this, Hina suggests having a baby, but Licht says they must first sort everything out. Hina asks for another promise. He must never fight alone. Licht acknowledges his mistake in saying that he never fights alone, as Takatora always helps him on the battlefield. After their conversation, the fight between Licht and Takatora begins. Before they can continue, Mizuka in her second personality attacks Licht, controlled by the special service. Takatora accepts Mizuka's help as they fight against Licht, who is easily overwhelmed by their attacks. Meanwhile, Schmerman watches from a distance, wondering if Licht can handle two barons simultaneously. Meanwhile, in the medical room, Peli tries to heal Lion's wounds with the help of Hina. He notices the serious look on the girl's face, which confuses him. Mizuka continues to fight against Licht with the help of Takatora, who hinders Licht's movements with his gravity. Licht finds himself in trouble as he struggles to fight against both of them. Takatora asks Licht if he knows why Mizuka becomes so obsessed with him every time he activates his bloodlust genes. He explains that Mizuka has always idolized and trusted him since high school. Then Takatora angrily decides to blame Licht for what's happened to Mizuka over the last 300 years. And just as the pair of aces controlled by the special service are about to deliver the final blow to Licht, Jail appears on the battlefield and stops them. He tells Licht that he's saving him because he needs his help to protect Hina and the others. Jail and Licht join forces to fight against these two. During the battle, Jail blocks Mizuka's shots with small pieces of metal and reminds Mizuka of their past conversations. Mizuka, regaining her sanity, tells him that her conviction is not to kill Jail, while crying inconsolably. After the fight between Jail and Mizuka, Takatora questions why Licht doesn't understand the need to kill enemies to achieve victory. Licht explains that violence only perpetuates more war and that he will seek to reform the non-killing army to end conflicts peacefully. He reminds Takatora of their past during the Abandonment War when Takatora tried to kill children and Licht opposed it due to his inability to harm the innocent. Takatora, frustrated, is determined to finally end Licht once and for all. Takatora creates green orbs around Licht, revealing them to be black holes, his ultimate move. Mizuka warns Licht to flee, but it's too late. Takatora activates the black holes, attempting to absorb Licht into one of them. Despite Licht's efforts to escape, he is slowly drawn in. Once he disappears, the black hole turns into a small black orb, which Takatora destroys with his hand. Everyone is shocked by Licht's disappearance. Later, Licht wakes up in an unknown place after Takatora's attack. Soon he realizes he's in the world of darkness, where Takatora, revealing himself as his mask, announces that Licht will die there. Other characters, including his own mask, confront him about his past during the Abandonment War. Licht tries to fight against the masks, but they regenerate and criticize him for his past actions. Finally, Licht understands that his philosophy of non-violence was wrong and decides to surrender and die in the world of darkness. Meanwhile, in the outside world, Hina and the others wonder where their friend is. Takatora informs them that Licht has been absorbed by the gravity well and will return. Although he tells them to accept reality, they refuse to believe that Licht would give up so easily. Enraged, Takatora decides to kill them all. When Licht is on the verge of giving up, he hears the voices of Hina and the others from the outside giving him hope. He remembers his promise to stay together despite the pain. With total determination, Licht destroys the masks and escapes. Back in the outside world, he confronts Takatora, who tries to kill him. But Licht is trying to convince Takatora to join his cause, and after defeating him, Takatora promises to help him. Later, Lai-Mei wakes up after her surgery and remembers her confession of love to Licht. Although she tries to justify it as a dream, she realizes it was real when the villagers of home congratulate her. Confused by Licht's rejection, the villagers threaten to punish him. Meanwhile, Nana and Jail discuss a promise made 300 years ago, hinting at a possible conflict in the present. In the outskirts of Hoffnung, the abandoned capital, Pella watches with bewilderment as Licht claims to have been attacked by the villagers of home without apparent reason. While Licht tries to mend the chaos, Pella confronts him about how he knew of his medical abilities to save Line. Licht points out his behavior during the Abyss Demon incident, suggesting that Pella might be a spy from the Special Service. He pauses when Licht assures him that he's a friend of Lime, realizing that he has always been on her side. After Lick's departure, Pel's sister encourages him to console Line, suggesting that it's his chance to confess his feelings. With some embarrassment, Pell agrees and shares a moment with Line in the medical room, preparing her food and acknowledging his feelings. Meanwhile, in the forest, Hina confronts Lick and tells him that it's time to conceive a child, without implying that she's still too young for it. He tries to dissuade her, but Hina reveals a teaching from her mother and is about to continue when they are interrupted by Jail and the others, who discuss the next step. Lick reveals his goal of collecting the 7 original ballots not to destroy Althea, but to find a way to ensure the future of humanity without relying on Althing. Everyone supports his plan, with Sonohara even offering her help. On the other hand, at the special service bases, Nicola informs Schmerman about the preparation to assassinate the king of Althea, but he advises caution. Later, it is revealed that Schmerman is in communication with a mysterious troop that seems to be the Class A, the students who supposedly died 300 years ago. Schmerman declares that he eagerly awaits Lick's arrival. Then we see the boy and Hina sharing a lunch as they travel towards Althea, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their mission. The end! Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new anime recaps.